What's up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. How are you guys doing on this blessed what, Wednesday, Thursday? What day of the week is it? Thursday. Lord, time is going by. It's so much been happening in my life. I wish I could talk about it right now, but I honestly have had to. The videos you've been seeing were pre-recorded. I have not been recording because I just been dealing with a lot, and I needed to be in meditation. I needed to be in prayer for what's actually happening, and hopefully soon I can tell you exactly what's happening. But we're going to talk about what's going on out here in the world and how we need to be preparing the best that we possibly can. Yes, things are looking okay right now, but things are taking a turn. What you don't see and what they're not talking about, it is coming. And when it do hit, it's going to hit with a vengeance. Okay. We know what we went through with the supply chain. We know, when the ports were having the issues and they didn't have workers, it was a labor shortage. Well, guess what? It's still a labor shortage going on. And even though they started moving things are starting to slow down. So we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about banks. Banks are still closing their doors. Brick and mortar is no more. They're looking at it just like these grocery stores are looking at the foot traffic. If nobody's coming in here, there's no need for us to be paying this money for leasing this property or whatever. So these places are closing, and I have one or two right now that I want to tell you about. So before we go any further, I need you to hit that like button or dislike if you don't like the video. It still helps. Let me know what's happening, what I need to change or whatnot. But anyway, so we're going to talk about Sturgis branch. The Sturgis branch of Key Bank, a longtime financial institution in town, will close permanently. The bank's doors will be locked. The ATMs will be shut down on that same day. Sturgis Key Bank customers are being directed to the branch in Bristol, Indiana for continued service. And that's according to the posting at the Sturgis Bank. Bristol is approximately 25 miles from southern St. Joseph County City. So they got to drive 25 miles. That's a lot, especially with gas prices. It says, as of May 26th, there are 15 Key Bank locations in Michigan, with all but Sturgis located in southeastern Michigan and the greater metro Detroit area. Key Bank has been consolidating branches across the state for several years as more patrons opt for digital banking. And that is the push with everybody right now. Digital. So don't think that these banks are just closing to close, because it's less foot traffic. It's less money they have to pay out, honestly. They don't have to pay that utility. They don't have to pay the water. They don't have to pay the lease and whatnot. They don't have to do that. If it's digital, that's money in their pocket. And that's what a lot of grocery stores are doing as well. It's not just about high crime and lack of foot traffic. Everyone is lessening their footprint. And it's about money. It's always about money, that bottom dollar. So this next bank, well, the last bank was in Michigan. This next bank, I had to look up how to pronounce it, is either Umpqua or Umpqua. So those who use the Umpqua Bank in downtown Gig Harbor, this is in Oregon, will need to make the trip to a different branch soon, because this branch will be closing on Friday. Today is Thursday, so on Friday, tomorrow, the Umpqua Bank at 3123 56th Street will permanently close, and that's according to the Umpqua's website. The move comes after the recent merger of Umpqua and Columbia Bank. So pay attention, you guys, because this is just hitting, and it's hitting in a different way. I mean, last year we had Wells Fargo, Bank of America, PNC, and not just last year, even this year, those banks are closing as well. But it says in March of 2023, Columbia and Umpqua combined two of the Pacific Northwest premier financial institutions under the Umpqua Bank brand to create one of the largest banks headquartered in the West and a top 30 U.S. bank. Umpqua is based in Lake Oswego, Oregon, and Columbia remains headquarters in Tacoma, Washington. All branches of the combined company will operate as Umpqua Bank. So these banks are shuttering. I'm not going to get deep into this. I've given you the dates, but it says beginning June 10th, customers should use 5303 Post Fosdick Drive, Northwest location. And prior to the merger, Umpqua and Columbia and complementary footprints, meaning our recent combination strengthens Umpqua Bank's overall presence, especially in Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Northern California, and provides greater convenience for our customers. So that is what they are saying. So summer is usually the busiest time when it comes to supply chain and international shipping. Well, while they're preparing for the busiest times, they're also preparing for the potential shock. So the first potential shock is man-made. They say a labor slowdown at West Coast ports where contract talks and with management have dragged on for more than a year. So the two sides are going head to head basically over pay and how to divvy up carriers' pandemic era profits in a market that's returned to rock bottom freight rates. So they're fighting over money. And like I always say, it always boils down to money. So it says, as Bloomberg reported on Friday, members of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union stopped operations. They stopped operations at submarine terminals at the port of Los Angeles heading into the weekend. Similar actions were seen in Oakland, Tacoma, Seattle. Y'all, they about to mess up the supply chain all over again. So one of the local chapters that represent the workers at the ports of LA and Long Beach said cargo operations in the ports continue, but that about 12,000 of its members in Southern California have taken it upon themselves to voice their displeasure with the ocean carriers and terminal operator positions. I can't read today, I guess. Anyway, the second escalating problem is an act of nature. There is a drought, and with that drought, that means a lack of water. Water we need for the ships to be able to pass through. So, in act of nature, a severe drought in the Central America area is cutting container ship capacity and increasing shipping costs through the Panama Canal, because basically they're probably having to go around. Remember when the ship was stuck and everyone had to go a longer route just to get to the ports they were headed to? So that fuel costs, labor costs, yeah. Here we go again. The article states that a shallower Panama Canal poses challenge to Fed's inflation fight. Lake Catan, which provides the fresh water needed to lift vessels over a series of canal locks from the Pacific to Atlantic, is suffering historically low water levels this year, and the drought is projected to get worse through the summer. So when you think that your shelves are looking good, you don't need to stockpile anymore. And, you know, a lot of people say, hey, I don't have space for that. And I get that. I don't have money for that, for one, because everything costs so much. And they just stop. We got to find these bargains. We got to find these sales, and we got to get stocked up, because it's going to come a point where those shelves are going to start looking bare. And even if the ships do make it through the canal, It's saying here that the result is higher surcharges per vessel and limits on how low ships can sit in the water, meaning each ship must load less cargo. Some carriers are already passing some of the cost to cargo owners via a $300 to $500 fee per container. Now, in the midst of the whole pandemic, those containers were over $1,000. And so that's why you started seeing a lot of inflation as well, because somebody got to pay for it. You know, somebody got to pay for it. They pay for it first, but they're going to hit you in the end. So they're sending less shipments on the ship because of the low water. That means less stuff, less food, less clothes, less miscellaneous items, even less parts when it comes to repairing your cars, your tractors, your trucks. Less parts, and if you do find them, it's going to be very expensive. And the wait when people take their cars to get repaired now, in most cases, they're waiting months. Some people, you know, it's just getting worse. Pray, plan, prep. Pray, plan, prep. So it says, if things get really extreme, the canal could be forced to cut the number of ships it transits each day to between 28 and 32, from as many as 36 right now. So that's something to think about. And so you can see right here is showing the lower draft limits equal less cargo and higher costs. You see how the capacity is, the typical scenario, and then the drought scenario over on the right. And then down here it says many cargo owners had diverted cargo through Panama in recent months to avoid the prospect of labor disruption. Even with that, that's going to cost a lot. And it says that here, all of this is costly, says the logistics person. Now with this labor stoppage on West Coast, that is just going to make that choice less an option, because money wise, fuel wise, costly isn't a word that inflation hawks at the Federal Reserve want to hear. So they expect things to go and cost even more. How in the world will people survive this? It's going to be rough. It's going to be a bumpy ride, as they say. So strap in, get prepared. I'll try to leave the link to this article in here, because I'm not going to read the whole entire article. I just needed to give you guys a reminder. And it's happening. The worst is happening. But even with the worst happening, we don't have to panic, because knowledge is power. It's the key to us being, somewhat prepared for whatever is happening. One step ahead as much as we possibly can. And they're not talking about this on the news. All they're talking about is rainbows. Whatever they're talking about. But they're not talking about the stuff we need. So I hope this was informative, helpful for you. These stores, grocery stores, are still closing. Banks are still closing. Please share this video out with as many people as you possibly can. Not only does it help them get prepared, it helps them help someone else get prepared. And that's less stress on you, because if you're the only one preparing in your family, and then SHTF happens and they know you're the one that's preparing, no. So hopefully you're prepared, so that way if someone does need help, you can lend a helping hand. And I know a lot of people say, well, I'm preparing for me. If they're not preparing, then that's on them. That may be true, but don't block your blessings by holding it all to yourself. So with that, pray, plan, and prep. See you guys in the next video. And I love you, but God loves you more. He created only one you. Be the best you can be. And when you are, go out and spread God's love. But first, you got to love yourself. You got to know what that feels like. so you're able to give it and you're able to receive it in return. And y'all, say a little prayer for us, okay? Maybe one day I could talk about what's actually happening in my family right now, but it's deep. It's really, really deep, and it took us by surprise, but God is good. I gave it to him, and I stopped stressing about it as much as I possibly can, and I'm just gonna keep going. Just gonna keep going. That's all I can do is just keep going. I love you. See you again in the next video.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever. 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 I watch you as you sleep. You don't know I'm looking. With you everything's complete. Do you know how much I love you? I put your favorite song on just to wake you up. When I dance around, I can't help but feeling, I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever. 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 I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here